Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Changing rules in the marketplace, it's pretty difficult to predict exactly what the rules are going to be until you have a view at least on what's going to be going on in the marketplace. So let me just jog back for a couple of minutes to talk about my views on some of the key trends that, while they may seem subtle, could actually lead to quite significant shifts in the marketplace that we're operating in today. And the first trend that we're already starting to see, in my view, is a shift away from pure IT services and towards the provision of business services. Why do I say that? Well, frankly, it's because our clients are saying that to us, and our clients are increasingly becoming more and more business outcome focused. If you're a bank, for example, over in the West at the moment with rising levels of consumer debt, what are you concerned about? You're concerned about collecting that cash before those debts become bad debts or your competition is sweeping up those collections. Whereas in the past, you might have been saying, what's the right technology that I can deploy to actually have a better debt collection service? Now you're asking the question, how can I actually get those debts managed better and faster so I can stay ahead of the competition and actually concentrate on other things like, for example, growing market share or customer acquisition? But at the same time, these same clients are increasing their propensity to outsource services. A whole host of them have been outsourcing technology services for years now. It's well embedded in their DNA, but they're increasingly starting to focus on not just corporate services like finance and accounting and HR, but also industry-specific services. And I agree with the point Pramod said. I think the biggest market that we've all got to play for is as yet untapped, and that's our client base who are currently doing things for themselves. And in the future, I think we'll see more and more of that outsourced, mission-critical services and processes so that they can concentrate on their own customers. I think that's already relevant in the private sector. What's particularly interesting for me and a great opportunity is how relevant will that whole philosophy become in the public sector as we go forward too. Second trend that I want to talk about is a shift towards the use of information. At the moment, all our organisations, all our client organisations, we're awash in this ocean of data that we have to collect, we feel as though we need to collect, we have to collect for regulatory purposes, whatever. But at the end of the day, the conversations today are about how can I minimise the cost of looking after that sea of data? Whereas I'm starting to see now signs of people saying somewhere buried in all of that information, all of that data, is some important information that if I can just tap into it and unlock it and analyse it in a different way, I can start to drive my own business in a different, more informed fashion. Very simplistically, you'd be looking at where are my costs going, how can I manage those more aggressively. As you start to drill deeper into the business, you'll ask questions about what are my customers doing when they're buying my products or going into my retail outlet? How are my products performing if I'm a manufacturer? How can I start to build better preventative or predictive maintenance regimes, for example, based on information around product quality, product performance? There was some very interesting research published just very recently, actually, by an organisation that said those organisations that better link how they think about information usage, link that into their technology and their business process engineering, will take a step change against other competitors in their sector. The final point I'll make on the market is I think that the service delivery model is evolving and is about to evolve even faster. In any industry, you start to see commoditisation and a shift towards utility delivery. We've already seen that in power, we see it in bandwidth, we see it in storage. As software as a service starts to become more the norm, I think we'll start to see that in applications as well. And as people automate, standardise, use the web more and more to access their customers or their suppliers, I think we'll start to see that whole area of service delivery shift in the services mode too. We'll move away from a cost of a person times number of people times number of hours and more towards the cost of an account managed, the cost of a website hit, etc. And at the same time, our clients are assessing what sort of risk are they willing to accept and how do they mitigate against it. Our clients are buying from experts, they're not buying from generalists. I do believe the points that were made about multi-sourcing. We're seeing monolithic traditional contracts that were set up 5-7 years ago broken up because clients are saying, I want best of breed, and I'm sophisticated enough to go out and buy best of breed. That means that as suppliers, we've got to be comfortable at operating in ecosystems alongside other suppliers and not have the arrogance of being, if you like, a one-stop shop sole provider, but frankly a generalist and not an expert in any particular one thing. And at the same time, and this is an issue for India as a country, we are starting to see clients question whether having all of their processes, all of their services serviced out of one geography is necessarily the right thing for them. And we'll start to see other nations thinking about how they can compete either on cost, quality, or on service differentiation. So let me come back to try and answer the question, how will the rules change? I think very simplistically, organisations, suppliers, have got broadly two routes that we can go down. We can go down the super low-cost commoditised services route. That means huge scale and absolutely mandatory offshore delivery. Or we can go down a differentiation route where, frankly, we're positioning ourselves as what I call specialised experts. But a specialised expert needs probably something different to what is common in the market today. It needs a focus on service delivery, not project management alone. It needs an ability to operate in an ecosystem of other suppliers, not be the sole provider. It needs a relationship with the business owner themselves, as opposed to dealing in the depths of the IT or the technology department. And it requires an ability to sell on value, not just on lowest cost. What I think we'll see in the marketplace, therefore, over the next 2 or 3 years, some interesting trends. This industry is still quite a fragmented industry in its own right. I think we'll start to see consolidation. People will either be acquiring to build scale and reduce their cost base, or they'll be acquiring domain sector expertise, or they'll be acquiring intellectual property. As in any industry, there'll be good acquisitions that are well-founded and well-integrated, and there'll be poor acquisitions that were ill-conceived and not culturally integrated properly. And I think that's a challenge for all of us. At the same time as consolidation, however, I think that we'll start to see new entrants coming in around specialised expert knowledge services. I've mentioned partnerships and ecosystems. I think they will become the norm as opposed to the exception today. We'll see other countries emerging to challenge India, either on the cost or on the service differentiation basis. And I think that there will be dangers of organisations being stuck in the middle, not knowing whether they're going down the low-cost commodity route or whether they're going down the service differentiation. And I think this is something that actually all organisations, large and small, offshore, onshore, all have got to deal with. If you're a larger organisation today, your biggest problem is probably one of inertia, one of an arrogance that says, this worked in the past, so I'm sure it's okay for the future. Let's face it, the bigger organisations put their business models together last century, and I think we've all moved on quite significantly in recent years. The biggest challenge, therefore, for the larger organisations is to step back continually and say, who am I? What do I exist for? What can I expect clients to buy from me? And how do I reinvent myself in real time in the marketplace? And that's very difficult. At the other end of the spectrum, though, the smaller organisations, they need to sell on a track record of expertise, on corporate resilience, and it's a bit chicken and the egg. How do you sell on expertise until you've won your first few deals and started to build up that track record? I don't have an easy answer for how people will do that, but I think we'll see some very innovative, interesting models in the marketplace about how organisations work with their client base to actually build those innovative solutions almost as foundation deals. So, let me just wrap up. I don't see that there's going to be a big new technology, big bang, that's going to happen in the next couple of years that's going to radically change the marketplace. I think everything that we need to actually compete and win in the future that I've just predicted, all of those components already exist today. It's a question of how do we assemble them in a better, more innovative fashion. Don't underestimate the significance of those shifts, because if you start to paint that picture going forward, we'll see a future where our clients' organisations are very much focused on their own customers and their own businesses, and we'll see in parallel the growth of very major back-office servicing functions, HR, F&A, vertical-specific capabilities, etc., at the same time as consolidation around the more generic IT services. I think the question that I would leave us all with is, where am I as an organisation today? Have I got the wherewithal to ask those questions, and have I got the capability to make a success of going down one route or the other? Because the danger for all of us is that we don't ask the questions or we don't come up with a coherent strategy and you get stuck in the middle, and that no man's land is, in my view, the worst place that you want to be. Thank you.